everybody, I'm Akasha. How you doing? Welcome to my channel, and if you are a subscriber, welcome back. Today I have a treat for you. You know that there's always been talk about the importance of two parents being in a home for the child to thrive, more specifically the father being there. Now, even though I do believe that there is truth to that statement, I feel that at least one very important component is missing from that conversation. Let me share this video with you.
Do you guys know that the number one outcome or the number one indicator for how children grow up to thrive, whether or not they actually do?
I thought it was the daddy in the house.
Absolutely not.
What's
Believe
that?
it or not, it is the quality of their mother's happiness.
Wow.
Damn.
The quality of their mother's happiness is the number one indicator as to whether or not a child will grow up to thrive. Because if you have a depressed mother, if you have an anxious mother, if you have a mother with post-traumatic stress disorder who is having to disconnect from her own body, she cannot show up to nurture you. She cannot show up to support you. She cannot fully step into that space. And what she will teach you about being in relationships with other people, whether you can trust them, whether you can trust yourself, whether you can actually be committed and connected to somebody and know that they will reciprocate that to you in a healthy way. She teaches you that not through her words, but through her actions.
Wow. Wow. This short clip speaks volumes. And this makes a lot of sense, even on an energetic level, because energy is contagious. And in most cases, whose energy field is that child in majority of the time? Now, it's easy to see how her emotional and mental states can rub off on her child. Now, I want to touch on how it's repeatedly told to us that the father needs to be in that home for the child to thrive. Now, while, like I said before, I do agree with that to a certain degree, what they do forget to include is whether or not he contributes to or takes away from the happiness of that mother who's nurturing her family. If the negative interactions outweigh the positive interactions, and it takes a toll on that woman's mental health, then it makes it harder for her to be able to care for her children who are the future. Now, I'm not talking about having arguments here or there or disagreements, miscommunication, or things like that, because every relationship is going to have its challenges. And I believe that if both parties are truly invested, then as adults, it's important for us to try to work through those things, not only for the relationship, but also to show the children how relationships look in real life. What I am talking about are the more serious offenses that happens repeatedly, like major betrayal or cheating or damaging addictions or abuse. And that's whether it's verbal, emotional, mental, physical, or even just consistently not being present, to name a few. And that last one, I know many women who are in romantic relationships and are still single mothers. So it's a real thing. So dealing with these things can really take its toll on our mental and physical well-beings. So based on that knowledge, it's like we have an obligation to care for ourselves and our hearts and our minds, even if that does mean leaving a spouse or a significant other behind for the sake of our mental and emotional health and our happiness. And sometimes, even though we may want to keep the biological father or the man in the home, it just may not be healthy for the rest of the family, namely the children. For instance, let's say we have a father who's consistently cheating or abusing the mother, and the mother stays. That daughter can grow up thinking that that's how it's supposed to be. Or she can grow up on the opposite end of the spectrum, resenting men and thinking that all the men are trash, and because she's in that energy, she draws in men who are trash. Now, let's say that they have a son. He can grow up thinking that it's okay to cheat on his woman or abuse his woman. So then in these different instances, we have new cycles that are starting. Or should I say, the same cycle is going over and over again. Simply because that mother didn't do what she needed to do for her heart, for her mind, and for her body. We teach our children mostly by our actions. Now, the positive takeaway from this situation is that if that woman decides to leave, that too can teach that daughter how to operate if she finds herself in an unhealthy relationship. And for that son, it can teach him the importance of treating a woman right and valuing her while he still has her, instead of after he loses her. As mothers, it's so easy for us to put ourselves and our needs, especially our mental health, on the back burner to make sure we're able to take care of everyone else. And sometimes you can even feel guilty for taking time out to care for yourself or nurture yourself. And when we have that trauma or PTSD or heartbreak, sometimes it feels like it's just easier to bury them deep within us and just put band-aids over it whenever it tries to show its face. But really, we're not hiding anything because it's still in our energy field. And our children can feel that. Our husband or our spouse can feel that. Everyone who's in our energy field can still feel that. And that's why it's so important for us to face it, process it, so that we can learn from it, and then heal it so that we can let it go. You know, when we simply neglect these issues, they can become unhealed anomalies that embed themselves in our DNA that passes on to the next generation, which is where we get the negative generational patterns or curses, like some people like to call it. It can even create new negative generational patterns or curses. So we have to remember, we as mothers, we're likened to those containers that fills everyone else's cups in our family. Allowing ourselves the time to nurture ourselves and our needs, especially our mental and spiritual needs, it serves like a filter, and it allows us to be able to process and release what we no longer need and honor the lessons learned from those events, those people, those situations, or whatever the case may be. That way we can pour life-giving and uplifting energy into the cups of our children, our spouses, and the rest of our loved ones. So let's give ourselves permission to do that so that we can better take care of ourselves and the ones we love, especially our children, because we know that they're the key to because we know that we are the key to how they show up in the world. Thank you so much for this little tidbit. I hope your day goes well. And until next time, peace.